listen-only mode.
Hello, welcome to our Oregon ISP Q&A call-in for foster providers. My name is Dan McCloy, and I'm part of the team at OTAC. We're glad you're able to join us today. This webinar is being brought to you by Oregon Technical Assistance Corporation. OTAC has been providing training and technical assistance to professionals and citizens concerned about intellectual and developmental disabilities since 1984. Participants in today's webinar can submit feedback and questions through the question box on the webinar console at any time during the presentation. This webinar is being recorded to share with others who weren't able to attend live today. Your telephones and microphones have been muted for this call. The recording of today's webinar will be posted later today at oregonisp.org. Today, your hosts are Alan Lytle and Danelle Stewart from OTAC. They are joined in the room by Marilee Bell from Oregon's Office of Developmental Disabilities. So thank you for being with us today, and I'll turn it over to Alan and Danelle.
Well, thanks, Dan, and good morning, everybody. We're glad that you're here with us. My name is Alan Lytle, and I'm with OTAC, and I'm here in the room at the OTAC conference room with Danelle Stewart from our team. Hi, Danelle.
Hi, good morning.
And Marilee Bell from the Office of Developmental Disability Services. Good morning, Marilee.
Good morning.
Thank you, everybody for being here. Marilee, anything to get us started?
Just want to say how much we appreciate you all joining in the call. We all recognize all the work that you're doing, and taking time out to join us today is very much appreciated.
Yes, thank you very much for joining us, and we look forward to hearing some of the questions that you may have today. And so I want to take a minute to orient you to the GoToWebinar control panel that you have on your screen. Locate that control panel, and there is a place on your control panel to type a question. Please feel free to type your questions right into there, and that's going to come into our team. We're also joined, not in the room right here, but in the next room by CJ Webb from the Person-Centered Planning and ISP team here at OTAC, and she's helping us review questions as they come in, and we'll be responding to questions that we receive today. So with that, take a moment now to start entering some of your questions, so that we can begin to get responses generated. And while you are thinking of any questions that are coming to your mind, I want to share with you some of the most recent questions and answers that are posted on our website. I want to show you how to access Q&A at any time through the Oregon ISP website. I'm right here in my web browser. You should be now seeing the Oregon ISP webpage. And as a reminder, you can find a number of things here at Oregon ISP, including our training schedule, our online ISP forms. And up here in the upper right-hand corner, you'll find questions and answers. When I click on questions and answers, you'll see it's going to take me off the Oregon ISP website and over into our ISP Q&A interactive web page. So now that I'm here on this page, you can see that it lists all of our current Q&A, and they're all sorted by category or by topic, and you can see the responses right there on the screen in front of you. And if you have a specific issue that you have a question about, you can click into the search bar and start typing the word or topic that you're curious about, and see all the questions and answers related to that issue. All right. So, Danelle, you want to tell us about one of the questions that we've received recently?
Sure. I just wanted to start off by updating. These first couple of questions are actually updates from our last Q&A. The first one is about available materials. There have been some updates on available materials, and the question is, the ISP samples that were available at the ISP rollout training are not yet available online. When will the ISP samples be available to use when completing the new Oregon ISP process? So adjustments have been made to the ISP samples, and they're now available for download at oregonisp.org. So you will be able to access all of the new updated forms and samples there. And the next question is also about some updates. It asks, when will drop-downs be updated in the ISP? Again, all the current service codes have been updated to the new Oregon ISP as of June 18th, 2015. You can download the updated ISP at OregonISP.org. When the service codes change in the future, you can type directly into the drop-down with necessary service code information. We will communicate future updates to the ISP forms through the ISP pipeline and post them at OregonISP.org. So if you're not already a subscriber to the pipeline, you can become one by visiting the webpage OregonISP.org and entering your email address in the left sidebar.
Can I add something real quick?
Sure.
Just wanted to let you know that the odds staff tools page also has a link to the Oregon ISP.
Marilyn, when you say odds,
ODDS.
the Office of Developmental Disability Services, that's the state office. Great.
Great.
And since this is a webinar for foster providers, just want to acknowledge that that last question that Danelle was describing is related to the service codes that are printed on the ISP, which is a document that services coordinators complete. And so foster providers don't have to worry about knowing the service code drop-downs on the ISP.
Okay, great. So there was also some other, small changes we made, and one of the questions that came in asked if we could summarize the changes to the ISP manual and the ISP forms and documents. There are several changes that were made, and you can find a document at OregonISP.org that summarizes those changes. We could probably bring it up onto the screen right now, but if you go to OregonISP.org, you'll see that there is a document that summarizes the changes that we made to the manual and the forms, and so you can just get a quick overview of the highlights of those changes if you visit that webpage. And Alan's bringing that up on the screen right now.
Great. What other questions do we receive?
Let's see. So, so here's the question. One question that we got in recently, it says, what should be done when a person refuses to participate in the development of a one-page profile on the person-centered information? The person is very clear that he or she doesn't want to take part in creating or contributing any information to either of these documents. So let me just read you the response that we have. The Oregon ISP process, it doesn't require person-centered, it does require person-centered information and a one-page profile to be prepared. Our hope is to involve the person to the fullest extent possible. If the person declines at first, he or she might need more introduction to what these documents are and how they could be used to support her in achieving her desired outcomes. Maybe right now isn't the time, so don't push it, but don't give up either. Start simple this year with the information you know. Gather this information in a way that works best for the person. Fill in those sections you already have some information about. Fill in other sections with information you gather from conversations you have during the planning process. If there are areas of a person's life they choose not to discuss, indicate this on the form. These documents don't need to be developed based on an interview, nor is the person required to fill the documents out themselves. It can be created based on the information already learned through developing a relationship with the person and through conversation with the person and those who know and care about the person. If the person doesn't want a copy of these documents, that's fine. The service coordinator or personal agent will be responsible to document that in their progress notes. And the person should always be directing who they want to share their information with first and foremost.
Thank you, Danelle. And did you have another question you want to share?
I do. Let's see. I want to get, oh, this is a good question. So this question came in. It says, will the ISP Q&A call-ins and webinars be recorded so they can be accessed at a later time? And the answer is yes. We're recording all of the webinars and call-ins. So this one today will be recorded and those in the future. So if you happen to miss one, you can always go to OregonISP.org and access them at a later time.
So I'm just pulling up here on the screen, and you can see that our Q&A from June 30th, where we had Q&A with foster providers, is posted here at OregonISP.org/forums, as well as on July 21st, we did a webinar with an overview of updates to the Oregon ISP process. Great. I want to remind you to take a moment to fill in any questions that you have, anything you'd like to discuss today. We're happy to take this time to hear your questions, issues, feedback, concerns, anything you'd like to discuss today. This will be a good time for it.
And while we're waiting, I have one more question that I think is important to mention. So the question is asking, is it ever appropriate for the residential or vocational provider to be filling out the ISP itself? And the answer is no. The services coordinator and personal agent is responsible to draft the ISP form. The services coordinator and personal agent has the oversight and final responsibility for the accurate completion of all required ISP forms. They're the delegated Medicaid authority, and they have a responsibility to ensure that the plan meets the person's current service needs and complies with requirements for chosen service settings and associated funding. So it is the services coordinator or personal agent's responsibility to draft the ISP form itself.
And so when this Q&A refers to a residential or vocational provider, residential includes foster providers in this setting. And I know from talking with a number of foster providers across the state that in the past, in some counties or in some areas, some foster providers have been accustomed to preparing the ISP on their own and then bringing it to the services coordinator at an ISP meeting. And I think this is the point that we're looking to clarify here, that now those, if you had previously as a foster provider been preparing the ISP, now that is the responsibility of the services coordinator. All right, we've been monitoring the incoming questions, and I'm actually going to report that we have no incoming questions right now. So I hope that that's an indicator that, gosh, all of your questions are answered and things are working well. So we'll keep the line open here for another couple moments. We're going to take a look through some of our other received questions and see if there's anything else that we're going to have to offer, and then we'll be steering toward wrapping up this call for today. So take this opportunity to ask any questions that you may have. While you are thinking about that, I will mention that we will have another ISP, online ISP training, a webinar scheduled at the end of September. That's a little over a month from now. We anticipate announcing that training within the next week by email using the ISP pipeline email. I took a moment to review those of you who are signed up, and I see all of you signed up for the webinar today are actually also subscribers to the ISP pipeline, so that's great. So you'll get an email notification of registration for our webinar in September. It looks like that webinar will be on the topic of risk identification and risk management. And I also want to tell you about upcoming classroom trainings, in particular for foster providers, but I'll show you where you can find all of the information about upcoming trainings. When we're here on the Oregon ISP website and we locate the training schedule on the left-hand side of the screen, you can see our upcoming trainings, and it looks like there are also the trainings that we just completed here in August. We are planning training coming up in September. We'll be in Eugene in October. We're planning to be in Salem and either Oregon City or somewhere on the east side of the Portland metropolitan area. So we'll have, of course, more information about the specific dates and locations sent out by the ISP pipeline email. No?
Looks like we have someone's hand up. Do you want to see if someone has a question that they'd like to ask?
Let's see. Randy Freeman, it looks like you've raised your hand. If you have a question, do you want to type it? I can also, Randy, I'm going to go ahead and unmute your microphone if you're able to talk to us. Do you want to let us know what your question is? Great. Not sure that Randy has a mic set up or not. So, Randy, go ahead and type in a question if you have one. Otherwise, folks, it's been great to have you present. We're glad that you're engaged in the Oregon ISP process, and don't hesitate to reach out and contact us if you have questions. You can always visit OregonISP.org and click on Questions and Answers up in the upper right-hand corner, which will bring you to that searchable Q&A or give you the opportunity to ask any additional questions you may have. With that, folks, we're going to steer toward a wrap-up, and thank you very much for your time today.
Thanks, everybody.
Well, this concludes today's broadcast. If you have any additional feedback or questions about the Oregon ISP, please go to OregonISP.org and click on Q&A at the top of the screen. Just a quick reminder that this webinar has been recorded, and we will post it online at OregonISP.org for you to watch and share with others. So on behalf of the team at OTAC, thank you and have a good day. Goodbye, everybody.